National identity, whether purposefully or not, is an element included in most literature of any genre or time period. By analyzing this literature, we can develop a better understanding of what it was like emotionally to live in that time period, and a better understanding of how we should see the world of our present and future. The following is an analysis of the book Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe from this angle. Things Fall Apart outlines the life of Okonkwo, a man living in Nigeria at the very beginning of imperialism, as he adjusts to the radical cultural changes that occur over his lifetime with the addition of European settlement and occupation. Although this book was written in Nigeria, it is considered to be part of the British canon because it was published only a short time after Nigeria gained its independence from the UK and was written during that time period. It focuses on what would be the Victorian period of British literature, when imperialism began to rise. Imperialism is the name given to the time period in which many European countries, such as the UK, France, and the Netherlands, among others, split up and claimed swaths of land in Africa for colonies. It was characterized by a feeling of European superiority, predominantly on the basis of race and religion, which fueled what many then believed to be an altruistic need to spread European ideals to the African people, who were believed to be inferior and ignorant. The beginning and majority of Things Fall Apart focuses on what life was like before European settlement. We see the joys, tragedies, and conflicts of Okonkwo's life as he grows from a young man, fresh on his own, to become a village leader and respected elder. He marries 3 women and has many children, a symbol especially of status. His life becomes about an inner conflict between customs and morals, and what he perceives as manhood and masculinity. Should he follow peace or violence? Should he value life over authority, or authority over life? These are conflicts that are applicable to every society, new or old. The reader is drawn into the customs and plotline, no matter what culture he or she is from. We all understand these conflicts, and we find ourselves identifying with them. It is in this way that Achebe draws his lines. He does not need European society in order to write a story, or to have an intelligent, identifiable message. He illustrates a certain independence and flow in his portrayal of this tribal society, showing that all cultures are equal in their application to the life around them. As much as European life fits Europe, African life fits Africa, and the cultures should be valued the same among all people. No one group is more righteous than the other. In fact, the greatest disturbances occur when European technology and ideals interfere with African culture. For example, the possession of a European gun allows Okonkwo to cause greater disturbance, and threaten one of his wives during what should be a time of peace due to holiday. Additionally, the same gun explodes at a funeral for a man of the tribe, killing the man's mourning son, and thus causing Okonkwo's banishment from the village, where he has lived a great portion of his life. Throughout the novel, the sacredness of family is emphasized greatly, and Okonkwo learns to value this above all else. The society that we come to know through the beginning chapters of the book could be described in a way as collectivist. Every man strives to benefit the group and the family. When Christian missionaries from Europe implant themselves in African society, it disturbs the comfortable ebb and flow of tribal life and causes a violent divide in the close-knit village where Okonkwo was living. Okonkwo's own son, Nwoye, leaves him to join the missionaries, representing the destruction of the family unit. European influence throughout the novel is depicted with its positives, such as inclusion of those people who are ostracized by the Igbo cultures and teachings, and the introduction of organized education. However, the negatives of this influence rise far above these positive aspects. This shows Achebe's point that European culture is right in itself, but not right in overstepping its boundaries into another equally adapted culture. There are many positive aspects to imperialism, such as the spread of modern medicine and the introduction of mechanized transportation, but there are also many bad things that have come of it. For example, Nigeria's culture was decimated by European ideals. Most of what would be valued as heritage was destroyed in place of westernization, and European violence in the past has catalyzed the type of violence seen in Africa in the present. Many conflicts in Nigeria now are the clash between the new and the traditional, and the African and the Western. When Things Fall Apart was published, many of the nations claimed by Europe during imperialism were gaining their independence from their parent states. This book was Achebe's assertion that all cultures are valuable, and none more so than another. Additionally, he shows that Nigeria is capable of its own governance and does not need to be held up by the UK any longer. While many Western books depict imperialism romantically, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe is a tragedy about the death of a rich culture at the hands of racism and perceived superiority. At the end, Okonkwo hangs himself when it is clear that there can be no action by his people against the British. Tradition dictates that his own people cannot cut him down, as he is seen as impure, and the European government officials will not cut him down either. Instead, he stays there as a symbol that this conflict between the new and the old and warring cultures will continue on, only sparking violence for the worse.